first, before I start, just like to acknowledge traditional owners of the land on which we're meeting today, acknowledge their elders past, present and emerging. And I'm currently in Rockhampton and I'm on Durumble land. And pay respects to all the lands on which you're meeting on, all the traditional owners of the lands which you're meeting on. Okay. So let's start presenting. So like with all of our updates we do in Projector, we have on the front page here under support, changelog. If you click on changelog, we put a brief description of all of the updates we've done here. So Reef Investor, now this isn't a publicly available thing that you guys see. This is for the investors. So these changes, a lot of changes we've made are about supporting this. So Reef Investor is now sitting there just about ready to be, the build of that's being finalised, and anybody from Queensland Australian Government, just trying to find a date that I can show you guys into that. Project status and costs have been updated. The hill slope erosion models, which will be what Rob will talk about a little bit later. Project linking, so I'll show you what that does. Perception of, so yes, perception and practice survey. So that's now restricted to just projects that are in progress or complete. So that you won't be, if it's draft, you won't be able to do it. And then there's a few compulsory fields that are going in. So the gully and stream back, a couple of new compulsory fields there. Fencing now, and also fencing, you draw fencing in, it's been split between new and existing. So it used to be new and existing, now it's new and existing, so another option in there. And yeah, with the update to the stream bank erosion calculations, there is now a little bit of extra information in this tab on how it works. Grazing, hill slope erosion projects. There'll be a little bit extra information down here about the updates that we'll push through on this one. So the first thing we're going to do is jump over into Projector proper, and I will show the couple of new fields. So I already have a project sitting in here. So this is just a gully. This is a gully project in here. Another thing worth adding is, since the update, we have now been able to cull this horrible long list that used to be here of all of the projects that were in Projector. Now gets culled down to the ones that are only the active ones at the moment. So this Australian government list used to scroll for ages, and now it's only a handful that are currently active. And as new projects come online, this list will be updated. So hopefully it makes it a little bit easier for you guys to find the ones that you want to line up against. So we jump over into projects. Now on the project detail page, there's a couple of new, this is where the bulk of the changes have happened on this. So there is this new section here, which is project status. So what is the status of the project? Everything that, every new project that goes in defaults to draft. And then can be changed in progress or complete. All projects that were in Projector, so everything that you guys have currently sitting in there, all just went to draft. So we haven't pushed anything through to to there. So what this is about is being able to show what's coming up. So the intent of this question here is, if you're putting a project in that you're just not really sure whether it'll go ahead, or whether you will, or you're just, prospecting, I guess, looking for sites, they'd remain in draft. Once you start working with a landholder and it's going to be a project that you're looking for practice change, and you want Office of Barrier Reef or Reef Trust to know that you are now working with a certain number of landholders, you would change this from draft to in progress. So you would tick this, and I will just jump over to a different one that I can actually tick stuff on. So worth noting is if you do get to this page and this comes up, this is grayed out, it is because there is not something selected on this other side. So you need to have a funding program selected and change to something that actually works. And that will then give you the ability to move it from draft to in progress. So the idea is once a project goes in progress, that's something you would work on. You may or may not have these practice changes that you thought you were going to achieve. So you would be going, oh, this is what we're aiming for. We've prioritized this project based on these practice changes. Once you come to completion, so you would go back in and review this. So it actually asks when you hit complete. It doesn't ask on this one. When you hit complete, we expect that you go back, just review this, make sure this is right. And once it's complete, it's then able to be reported. So projects that aren't complete can't be reported to Paddock Tarif. Okay. While we're on this page, you'll see that the budget fields are greatly increased. So we've put a whole heap of new budget fields in here. So what we're trying to do is, this is sort of a two-way thing. The Reef Trust funding that's currently being worked on now will most likely have thresholds for different things. So if earthworks and Reef Trust is over a certain amount, it may require technical review, but also the funding. So the Queensland Australian government are interested in how much money they're spending on riparian fencing or off-stream watering points and that sort of stuff. So it's something we get requests from often from ministers or directors about how much money did we spend on that. So that's what this is in here for. If we add money into this, it auto updates, just sums it up. So we can say we're going to put this amount on there and we're going to do 5,000 for off-stream water. That will add through to there. So you'll see the 15,000. If there is stuff that doesn't naturally fit into this, there is an other. So we can say 10,000 for the other if it doesn't fit there. So that's your budget fields. Same as always, these budget fields aren't compulsory, but yeah, it's useful for the funders to be able to know where the money's being spent. Okay, I'll jump back to that gully project. So that's the in progress and the budget updates. Now the other update for gully projects is, so you've done this with a gully type project, you would be drawing this as the gully area in, and you might be doing some fencing, and you might be doing a head drop or a porous check dam or something like that. But what is often happening is there will be some grazing extension happening on the surrounding paddock there. So with the update that we pushed through at the end of last year, we're not able to see, or the reviewers aren't able to see, if there's grazing extension happening in support of gully projects. So now on this review tab and the gully and stream bank type projects, there's this new tab here called linked projects. So if we go into linked projects, we can now show that for our gully that's there, and we're doing whatever in our gully. If I go into spatial context, I drawn in a fence, and existing fence, and a gully head rock chute, but I can't see on this one here, or the reviewers can't see the supporting project for GLM. So this is where we've done here. So we're now able to add in this. So on this one here, I've got a project that is doing some grazing land management. It's having additional savings. So there's 2 tons saving there. So people are able to see that and how we link that. So I'll just unlink this to start with. So what you would see as you put this project in, you go to this link one, there won't be anything there. You would go to linked projects. You would find the collection you're working on. So mine, I know that mine's called Gully Support. And then this particular one is GLM to support project. I'd select that, or if there was 3 or 4 here, I'd select whichever ones are supportive of this particular gully project and hit select, and it'll bring it in. So that's that one there. I think they're the major changes that are really here. So unlink it again by just checking it and unlinking it there. Okay. I think they're the major ones in this section here. Rob, do you want to jump in and talk about the GLM changes now?
Yeah, sure. I'll see if I can
stop sharing.
Apologies for any background noise. They're gurneying the shed next door, so these things happen, right? Adam, can you confirm, are you able to see?
Yes, I can see your PowerPoint.
Yeah, hang on, that went to the wrong side. One of these classic things, right? Of these. Start sharing. Nope. All right, I'll just do what I was going to do there. Leave it in this big view because I don't know how to work my multiple screens. Apologies. So as Adam alluded to, we know last year there was an update to some of the layers in the Pepper algorithm or data analysis that underpins the hill slope erosion estimates. And then early this year, there was another update to some of those data layers coming through from the Paddock Reef catchment modelling team. So we had noticed previously the reason we'd started looking at updates to Pepper was primarily there was areas where when people were doing prospecting type projects, but also in some legitimate projects, there was a few hill slope erosion rates that appeared a bit weird, as we were calling them, or spurious. So we went through the update last year where we removed the L factor from that Pepper calculation, which is the slope length factor, recognising that the catchment modelling team had removed that some time ago. So late last year, we worked through and gave an estimate of the quantified change that might have made hill slope erosion estimates. Earlier this year, then, again, in conjunction with the Paddock Reef catchment modelling team, we continued to keep the slope length factor out, but we incorporated into the Pepper calculation an updated K factor, which is soil erodibility, and that includes improvements to the SALI soil and landscape information database held by Queensland Government, and also includes some effect of rock, where they knew that there could be significant amounts of rock. And also they had reprocessed the shuttle radar digital elevation model to give a different, a more relevant or representative slope steepness factor. They just had better computational techniques than were available 10 years ago, so that's why they've updated those. So those have now been worked through the Pepper calculation, and that's why you get changed hill slope erosion rates for any projects in Projector. But we thought, well, we should quantify again what the changes are to what you would expect to see in terms of the hill slope erosion rates predicted by Pepper. So using 71 unique projects that Adam was able to provide, which were all de-identified, but had some legitimate management change information contained in them, I was able to run the 1,200 individual blocks that make up those 71 projects and have a look at the difference in hill slope erosion rates. So with the blue dots and the blue relationship there, the linear relationship, you can see that there was a change, first of all, from Pepper prior to 2022 down to the 2023 change, which is the blue dots, and then the orange dots are using the new layers started from this year. And you can see there's been a sequential overall decrease in the hill slope erosion rates, which can appear alarming when you first look at that. If you were to interpret that in isolation, it says that the new Pepper that we've got this year is going to return you on average something like 17% of the original hill slope erosion rate. But If we dig a bit deeper into the numbers there, we can see that's not actually the case. So if we actually look back at the hill slope erosion rates of those projects that were occurring in parts of the landscape where we felt the Pepper calculation was giving probably reasonable estimates of a hill slope erosion rate, so less than about 8 tonnes of total sediment eroded per hectare per year, which is kind of not an alarming erosion rate. It's getting up towards an alarming rate, but you can kind of accept that. If you look at the spread of values in there, it shows that the big change we made last year, which was removing that slope length factor, decreased the hill slope erosion estimates to about 60% of the original estimates. And then if you look at the ones where we put in the new soil erodibility and the new slope steepness, that 60% comes down to about 41%. It's not at that 16 or 17% that we were looking at overall. And in fact, if we look at those greater than 8 tonnes per hectare, which were probably more prospecting style projects, probably put in areas of the landscape where you wouldn't legitimately expect people to be doing management changes, that's where you do see those large changes through sequentially through the data updates. So a summarised output in terms of the way that magnitude of the hill slope erosion rates have changed with the updated Pepper layers. In general, we're looking at about 40% of what we were running in 2022, but we think that the bulk of that, those reduced erosion estimates, as we've been through before and Adam's explained to people previously, were legitimate based on probably some inclusions in the original Pepper that probably shouldn't have been there. So as we concluded in 2023, we think that the data updates here are well worth pursuing and keeping in Projector, which is what Adam and the team at Paddock Reef have decided to do. We think the hill slope erosion estimates being provided by Pepper now are much closer to the P2R catchment modelling team's estimates when they run their catchment scale water quality models. But of course, the two things will never match completely because there are some fundamental differences in the assumptions and the purposes behind those. But that gives you some ideas of the magnitude of changes. There will be instances where your estimated hill slope erosion might have increased due to some data changes, but on the bulk of it, hill slope erosion rate estimates will have decreased based on those data improvements. That's probably it for me, Adam.